guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. This is my weekly wrap up for the week of the 19th of February to the 25th of February, and this week I read 3 books and a total of 893 pages plus a few extras for the book that I started yesterday and I didn't quite get finished. So let's get started. The first book that I read this week was Ensnared by Rita Stradling, which was an e-arc that I received from NetGalley in exchange for a fair and honest review. It is a new adult Beauty and the Beast retelling book and it was really interesting. I love Beauty and the Beast retellings. Beauty and the Beast is probably one of my favourite Disney films, and yeah, this one had a science fiction spin on it, which was really cool. So our main character in the story is Elaine, and her father creates artificially intelligent robots for sale, and he's very, very good at it. However, he is not very good with deadlines or with spending money wisely. He is in the midst of finalising a project called Rose for a man named Lorcan, who is a wealthy businessman living in the city. Project Rose is designed purely off Elaine, so she has this identical looking robot living in her house, but there's something not quite right with Rose and her father can't send him to Lorcan, and he's about to be arrested for breach of contract and fraud. Elaine decides that she wants to stop this from happening, and so she agrees to a very crazy plan of replacing the artificially intelligent Rose robot and taking her place and going to live in Lorcan's building, pretending to be the robot herself, which is just crazy. Lorcan himself is a very strange and mysterious character, and for most of the first part of the book we don't even really know what he looks like because he spends a lot of time in the shadows, and as it turns out he has been disfigured at some point in his life, and the mystery that Elaine begins to unravel is his history and what has happened to him and what makes him the way that he is. I love stories about artificial intelligence, particularly when artificial intelligence goes wrong, which definitely happens in this book. It is coming out in December this year, so there's a little bit of a wait for it, but definitely worth a read if you like Beauty and the Beast retellings. It's just something a little bit different. And if you can hear the dog barking, I apologise. That's the dog in another apartment. The next book that I read this week was Heartless Grange by Nicole Hurley-Moore. This was sent to me as part of a Goodreads giveaway, I believe. Yeah, Goodreads giveaway. And it is a adult romance book set in rural Victoria, and I'm really getting a taste for these books. So this is the same author as Country Roads, which I read a few weeks back. This story is about Lily Beckett, who has recently quit her job and discovered that her boyfriend was cheating on her. She decides to go and stay with her sister in her hometown of Violet Falls. Her sister has a young daughter, Holly, but on the way to Violet Falls, Lily is involved in a car accident, and she is assisted by Flynn Hartley, who she has known since she was a kid. He's a local grazier, but he's also the local commitment phobe and bad boy of the town, and once upon a time she had a massive crush on him. Lily settles back into Violet Falls, living with her sister and her niece. Lily decides to renovate an old shop that she inherited from her grandparents while reconnecting with old friends that she knew many years before. Amidst this, her sister is about to get married. Flynn becomes very intrigued by Lily and begins to actively pursue her, trying to forego his commitment phobe, bad boy ways and trying to convince her that he is worth the time. Meanwhile, he has his own demons that he is trying to recover from. This was just a fun light read. I really enjoyed it. It's something that you can pick up, read in a couple of sittings and be done with it and just walk away going, yeah, that was quite good and I enjoyed it, and that was definitely what it was for me. The next book that I read this month was another e-arc from NetGalley. It was At Attention by Annabeth Albert, which is the second book in the Out of Uniform series. I think last year I read, I can't even remember what it's called. If I can remember, I'll pop it up on the screen. It is a gay romance novel. It is very steamy. It is about Lieutenant Apollo Flores, who is trying to raise his 2 twin 4-year-old daughters after the death of his husband 2 years previously. He runs a very tight ship. He has schedules for everything, but he is finding that the time that he needs to spend at work, where he is a training officer at the local SEAL base, and the time that he spends at home, it's becoming a little bit stretched. His mother lives with him helping out with the girls, but she's about to go on holidays and he needs someone to come and move in and help take care of the girls when he's not there. Cue the entrance of one of his friend's younger brothers. Dylan is a young man that Apollo knew when he was much younger. So he has this perception of Dylan as still being this kid who had a massive crush on him, and he's really not anymore. Dylan is a very well-rounded character. He is a lovely guy. He has degrees in education, and he's looking into work where he actually gets to work with kids, and he gets to run out of school and holiday care programs for them. So he's got a very dedicated path that he wants to take. Apollo is still grieving and still unable to consider moving on without his husband, while Dylan still has this massive crush on him. And obviously things progress and there are some very steamy scenes. What I actually found most interesting about this book was the way that these two characters deal with Apollo's grief and his very, I want to say OCD tendencies, but Apollo is very controlling, and part of that irked me a little bit because Dylan was doing everything he could to help him, and yet Apollo still found it very, very difficult to let go of anything, which I also understand. I can wear both hats in this situation. Dylan as a character, I just loved him. I thought he was adorable. He was really good with the girls, and that was another thing that I really liked, because you don't read a lot of stories where you've got a parent and young kids, and the young kids are so interesting to read about. I mean, the girls aren't in it very much, but they are a lovely addition. They don't take away from anything that's going on. They actually enhance it, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was good fun. I'm actually glad that I did read it, because some of these characters were side characters in the first book in the series, so it was nice to follow them on, and I'll be keeping an eye out for any further books in the series. The fourth book that I started this week was The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman, which is I want to say it's like a sci-fi paranormal type book. It's sort of hard to pinpoint because I'm not very far into it at all at the moment. So far, what I know is Irene, our main character, is a professional spy for an organisation called the Library, which exists out of sync with time and the universe, I think, because she travels to alternate versions of the world. So the world is very Earth-like. So the alternates are like alternate versions of Earth. Some have magic, some have science and technology, some have a combination of both. And I think they're all about Victorian era. Like I said, I'm not very far into it, so it's sort of hard to describe. But she has recently returned from a mission and is being sent out straight away on another one, but this time she has a trainee librarian with her, Kai, and they have to travel to this alternate world where chaos is starting to encroach on the day-to-day world. That means that magic has interfered enough that suddenly everything is just a little bit off kilter, and she's sent there to retrieve a book, as the librarians are sent to do. They collect books from different alternate worlds and they add them to the giant collection that is the library. When they arrive there, the book's already been stolen, so they have to try and recover it. And that's about as far as I've gone, so I'm not going to plan on sneaking a peek to find out anything else, because I want to go into this sort of blind, because it's a really intriguing read. It sort of reminds me of The Librarians, also the TV series Warehouse 13, which I really loved, where you've got people trying to recover these items from different time periods. Great book. I'm finding it a little bit slower to read because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of detail, but it's not a bad, dense read, if that makes sense. So yeah, those are the books that I read or started this week. Let me know down in the comments what you have been reading and what you thought of those books. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.